Alright, so far in geometry we've been dealing with two-dimensional shapes. If I asked you to draw three-dimensional shapes, some of you would probably be able to draw a cube right away. Today we're going to be looking at how to draw some other different three-dimensional shapes. Okay, so in lesson 1.1 we introduced you to point, line, and plane. Those were the three building blocks of geometry. Throughout this chapter, you've used those terms to define a wide range of other geometric figures, from rays to polygons. You did most of your work on a single flat surface, a single flat plane. Some problems, however, required you to step out of a single plane to visualize geometry in space. In this lesson, you'll learn more about space geometry, or solid geometry. So space is a set of all points. Unlike lines and planes, space cannot be contained in a flat surface. It's three-dimensional, or we can just say 3D. So here's a couple of 3D shapes there. In an edge view, you see the front of a building as a vertical line and the other edges as diagonals. So here's our front. It's vertical. Those other edges are diagonals. Okay, let's practice the visual thinking skill of presenting 3D objects in two-dimensional drawings. The geometric solid you are probably most familiar with is a box, but we call that a rectangular prism. So make sure that we're always using dashed lines for edges or arcs that you couldn't see if the object were solid. Okay, so the three-dimensional objects you will study include the 6 types of geometric solids shown below. So here's a prism. It has 2 bases that are polygons. Okay, so all of these are straight lines here. That's a polygon. Pyramid just has 1 base. All of the faces are triangles. They all meet at 1 point. For a cylinder, it's like a prism, except both of your bases are circles. A cone is like a pyramid, except your base is a circle, then the face meets at 1 point. A hemisphere is just half of a sphere. And a sphere is like a three-dimensional circle. So the shapes of these solids are probably already familiar to you, even if you are not familiar with their proper names. The ability to draw these geometric solids is an important visual thinking skill, so practice drawing two-dimensional drawings to represent 3D objects. So remember again to use those dashes for things we can't see. Okay, so if it's called a pentagonal prism, that means its base is a pentagon. Okay, so if I start with a pentagon, I'll just put 5 dots on there, I'll connect them, there's my 5 sides, that's my base. I'll make that same, pentagon on the top here. Putting the dots in the same place. Going to connect each dot, each point here to each point. Okay, and then I need to make some dotted lines. So think about what you can see. I could see this whole top base. I couldn't see this side and back. This one's in front. It can be solid. That one in back I can't see. I can't see that one on the inside. Those two would be solid. Sorry, I can see that one. All right, a hexagonal pyramid. Again, I'm just going to use, I should switch back to red. 6 dots, that'll help me make a hexagon. If it's a pyramid, all of these are meeting at 1 point. So you can think about which ones would be dashed, which ones you couldn't see in back. These other ones we can all see. That one we can see, that one we can see. Those ones should just be dashed in back. All right, if it was a drinking glass, if you think about a cup, that would be like a cylinder. So we have 2 circle bases. Connect those sides straight down. This half back here we couldn't see through the glass. Those sides we can. A basketball would be like a 3D circle. So start with the circle. We can put a belt on it. That back half we can't see. There would be the center of the circle. For a tissue box, this would just be your cube again. Some of you like to draw two squares and just connect them that way. Oh, they should be red. Then you can figure out what should be solid, what should be dashed. A right triangular pyramid. That means the base of this pyramid is a right triangle. Here's all the points. Now we have to go back in and dot those lines that we can't see. And an octagonal prism. This one might actually be easier if you draw two circles. That'll help you keep your 8 points in the same spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops. Okay, so if I connect those, then I have to connect corresponding vertices. And then we'll figure out which sides we can't see. So here is actually the octagon. I can see that one. I can see that one. I can't see there. There. All right. Okay, so for one-dimensional shapes, you can only measure length, and we use regular units, or we'd measure in centimeters or inches. For two-dimensional shapes, you can measure length and width and use square units. So that would be like centimeters squared or inches squared. For three-dimensional shapes, since we can measure length, width, and height, those are the 3 dimensions. We're going to be using cubed units. So regular units when measuring length, squared units when measuring an area, and cubed units when measuring volume. So that'd be like inches cubed or centimeters cubed. Okay, so nets are a two-dimensional pattern you can cut and fold to form three-dimensional shapes. This helps you to visualize in 3D. So if we think about this cylinder here, we have two bases that are circles. This piece would wrap around the circles, making a cylinder. If it's a cube, we have all 6 sections that are squares. We could fold that up, make a cube. And this is a triangular pyramid. Here would be the base, that's a triangle. All of these edges would meet to form at a point. And for the next one, if we try to count, we have a decagonal pyramid. Okay, so that means you have 10 sides. So if you drew 10 points and connected them, here would be your base. Okay, all of these sides are triangles that meet at 1 point. So draw a bunch of triangles off of there. For the second one, we had a pentagonal prism. Right, your 2 congruent bases were pentagons here. Okay, so draw, you would need 5 of these rectangles wrapping around the pentagon. So if you drew 5 of those rectangles, there are my 2 pentagons here. That would fold up into a pentagonal prism. And for this last one, we did in the investigation. This one's kind of tricky. but we have kind of this cone part wrapping around the base. That's a circle.